All right, we'll go ahead and call the February the 25th, 2013 Public Safety Committee to order, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last month. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. First on the agenda tonight is the OSHA report.
Good evening.
How you doing tonight?
Doing well, thank you. Should have the report there in front of you. I'd like to report for the month of January. Just to refresh your memory, OSHA reports for the calendar year, January being the first month of the year. So this will be the first one to report from 2013. In the month of January, we had a total of 18 injuries. As you see there, you can see what the breakout is of those injuries. And the accident frequency for the year to date is also be the same since only reporting for 1 month. Out of those 18, 15 of them were recordable. 11 of them had restricted days. There was 1 lost claim day in that, and there was 3 other recordables. So that makes the total. Next page, if you look at that, we'll show you where we compared for the 2 previous years. And you'll see that the number of injuries we had this month, the month of January, was the same as what we had back in 2011 in January also.
Request. Your little graph on the right that tells you the color code.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's because we get it on these laptops, start making that a little bit bigger. Yeah, I know, but then you can't see the whole thing either. Okay.
On the next page, you'll notice that the total for those 18 claims, total dollars incurred, is $18,892. Next page of the breakout, the Board of Education had 11, and of that 11, the dollars incurred were $11,292. The County General had the other 7, and the total dollars incurred on that was $7,600. On the last page of your report, this is a new page that you requested last month, and that is to present to you the dollars incurred by month as they go through. And you'll notice there the dollars that incurred in the different months.
Well, back in 11,
Yes.
February and April, what happened there?
In February of 2011, we had 2 claims that accounted for about 60%. They were both strains. And in April, we had 1 claim that accounted for, let's see, what was it? 74%, and it was also a strain. That one big tall one, 1 claim. In fact, that 1 claim was about $176,000.
Can you say what department it was in? Is that?
I prefer not to say what department, but I can say it was a strain. But I'd love to discuss it with you outside.
HIPAA.
Yes, sir. Because if I say what department, then we really nail down the person.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to do that.
But it was 1 claim. And in fact, I can tell you that that 1 claim also required 2 surgeries.
Okay.
I'm familiar enough with it.
Okay. Dang. Okay.
Now, while you look at this and you think about that, let me just kind of present to bring that into a little bit more. When you see that 1 big spike up there, just want to mention that in 2011 the total losses were $538,000, while in 2012 they were $586,000. So that's only $48,000 more. But when you look at that graph, that 1 claim looks like it's like $80,000. So remember that kind of when you start to bear it out across the year, it does equal out a little bit more. Also, just be aware that in 2011 versus 2012, we had an additional manpower that went up. It doesn't sound like a lot. It went from 5,853 to 5,960. In other words, about 2%, or 107 additional people were in from 2011 to 2012 also. So when you start taking the cost over the number of people, then it starts to bring that down a little bit. While we just look at the dollars, yes, the dollars went up just a little bit less than 9%, but we also had an additional 107 people in that 2012 year exposure.
Anything else you wanted to add?
Not at this time, sir, unless I'll entertain any other questions.
Is there any questions for him?
Motion to approve the report.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
As I said, I'll be glad to discuss any of this further, if you have an individual one would like to discuss.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next is the ambulance service report. How y'all doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Doing marvelous.
Evening, everybody.
You can go ahead.
The number of calls for the month was 2,021. 7.8 minute response time, 31 DOAs, and 9 were sent for autopsies. The collections billed $1,253,254. Total collections for the month, $584,931. And a year-to-date, $3,872,477. The collection was at 72%. Insurance write-offs, $443,999, and other write-offs, $395,123. We had no shutdowns, but you can see where we report that some of the units were shut down to a one person on the unit, so we use them as a first responder. And that's due to usually someone calling in sick, and it took a little while to get a part-timer to come in and replace them. The next is the breakdown of the maintenance cost and miles per cost. Next page would be our training and some of the SORT operations and REACT events. And the next page is just a overview of the response times for each unit, for each station. And then we have a breakdown on the next page of the district units, or district calls in every district. And then the Nashville calls for those districts, or those units that are in those districts, or the ones that went to there. The next page is the year to date. Of the prior page. And then the next page would be a breakdown of the units in what zones they responded to. Unit 1 obviously is Salem. Zone 1, that's where they primarily responded to, but then it shows the breakdown of all the other units and other zones that they went to, and all the way down the line. Any questions on those?
Any questions?
On anything so far? The next few pages are some recognitions and thank yous.
The question, I guess I may a little bit far ahead. I'll let you go ahead on that. That's what
Are we leading into it?
You're
That's
leading
the
into
segue?
it.
This was as you guys requested, they included at the end of the reports a breakdown of any of the denials for the month. And these would be the vacation requests that were denied.
This is substantially lower than any time I've ever seen in my, since you've been keeping it.
Well, January's a month that a lot of people don't want off. So it's, February and January are probably your least
Yeah, but it's-
desirable days to be
But
off.
it's lower than past January.
Exactly.
And then the last page is just a leave breakdown, the FMLA. And the FMLA is really sick hours, and then they could also be vacation hours. So that's why it's broken out in FMLA vacation, FMLA sick. And then sick hours, and then total vacation hours.
Do we know how many, the number of personnel that includes as far as having FMLA?
Well, I don't think we have anybody on FMLA right now. Now, there may be a couple of applications in for childbirth. that's
Periodic
coming
or
up.
something?
Right. But if you look at it, they work 240 hours a month. So if you have more than 240 hours, then it had to be 2 people. But last month, I think we only had 1 or 2 at the most.
Okay.
And not for the whole month. But this month, I looked, and I don't think we have anybody on it right now.
Well, I thought you had to have a certain amount of time that you had to use for FLMA. But
The FMLA is a time that you're allowed to have. You don't have to use
use
it.
it all.
It's
So
12
it could
weeks.
just be a couple days then.
Usually, if they're off 3 days, more than 3 days, they have to apply for FMLA, and then the hours would be considered FMLA time, even though it would come out of their sick time.
I have one more short, I hope it's a short question. A short question, I hope it's a short answer. And at MTSU, it's always the highest, but it's 150 higher calls in that zone than any of the other zones. And just what is it that makes, is that because it's so much larger an area? Is it?
That's
is
primarily the
It's
reason.
not
It's
because
big.
of students or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, it's just a big zone.
Okay.
Plus, it makes a lot of calls out in Manchester, station, backup for Salem Station, Burton Station. It's kind of a lot of backups too.
Yeah.
Well, since y'all started asking those questions, I noticed Eagleville Station ran 23 calls all month, is that right? So y'all don't pull them out of their area? Okay.
The Eagleville Station will come up to cover for other zones, but their zone is Zone 10. And so the Eagleville zone will come up, and you'll see that they made 21 calls in their zone. The 2 calls they made in Zone 1 are probably when they're at the hospital, and they're the closest ambulance to whatever call goes out. It's the reason.
Well, it's hard to pull them, they're so
Right,
far
right.
out, I understand that,
Yeah,
but
the
I'm just.
response time is why the Eagleville Station is there. I mean, it was huge, 23, 24, 25-minute response times.
Right.
Any more questions on the report?
Are y'all using, what the sheriff's department are using, I think they use the GPS units in the trucks for showing the closest unit to dispatch where they can see it inside dispatch to where, what's
Yeah.
that called? You know what I'm talking about?
AVLs.
Well, it's the something AVL that runs off of the
Yeah,
computer,
and-
so you don't have to have 2
Right,
GPS.
on the GIS system, and it runs off the AVLs in the truck. Now, we do have that system kind of in place, however, we're basically in the process of looking at other systems that will integrate those a lot easier.
It's the Rocket AVLs with the sheriff's department.
That's what they have. We have actually in-motion technology.
And the reason why I asked that is they just did that study down in Smyrna, and that's what the consultant said.
Sure.
You got to be using this, and y'all are, everything's off the board. And if we were using technology to alleviate some of those problems,
Our primary ambulances right now, we have 15 ambulances that have the in-motion technology, a lot similar, I think, to the Rocket. It does a few more bells and whistles, I think. But the in-motion technology, and which was, actually the hospital donated the money to get that technology so that we could transmit 12 lead EKGs. And that was $30,000 for those 10 or 15 ambulances. And we're actually in the process of, petitioning them to get our secondary ambulances equipped with the same technology. But as it sits right now, only the primary ambulances have those AVLs on there.
And I guess when we get new ambulances, we can get them with that equipment on there.
As we get new ambulances, we can get them with that equipment.
Well, hopefully this year we can do something, because you're way behind on ambulances.
Yes,
Is there any questions on their report?
I'll make a motion to approve the report.
Okay, got a motion, and we have a second.
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I think you got something
I
else.
got one more thing. The state of Tennessee, and I apologize, I've asked for a total cost on that for Tennessee. Yeah. To ask them how much this actually costs. This is called an AMBU bus. They called me and they said, hey, we've got, for Middle Tennessee region, we have 2 of these, and Montgomery County has 1, and we would like to give you 1. And what this is, basically, it turns a school bus into a supine patient carrier, much like you see on the MASH, the television show, you know, that kind of thing. And it was actually a standalone thing. So what you see up in the top left-hand corner there of the pictures that I gave you is a picture from the back of a bus shooting up toward the front of the bus, and the same thing goes with the picture over the right. This is the freestanding. It can also be put in a mass casualty tent if need be. And then, but what we want to use it for basically is a bus. And as you know, Rutherford County does not own their own buses, so we actually petitioned the city, and they are willing to donate a bus to us, and the entire kit is donated to us, basically. It is the property of Tennessee, the state of Tennessee, but we're going to be using it in this bus to transport mass casualties.
Would it not be required also, being that it's coming from the state, that it has to mutual aid or something like that?
Exactly. Since it is coming from the state, it'll be available for mutual aid. However, if we were to purchase it anyway, we would probably be available for mutual aid. So the bus, actually the 3 pictures over on the left on the second page is the actual bus from Murfreesboro City Schools. We've already seen it, looked at it. It'll fit just right. It'll transport 12 patients, the system will. 12 supine patients, and we'll have to take the seating out, much that you see over in the right-hand picture. But we'll have to take the seating out. It comes with a ramp. It comes with all of the stretchers and pillows and the whole 9 yards. I'm sure that's quite expensive, but we just wanted to let you know that we'd like to go ahead with that and take care of that. The only thing we need to do is really paint the bus, just because it needs to be differentiated, especially at the scene of a disaster or something. But we'll be able to do things like move nursing home patients in case of a flood or no electricity or, you know, all those kinds
Fires
of
or
things.
something
Exactly.
like this, when you got several.
Exactly.
But so what exactly, we'll have to take out the seats here and then
Yes,
we
sir.
put in the state
Yes, sir.
equipment? Or do they?
They say it takes 2 hours to put this in. And, you know.
And y'all can do that?
Yeah.
There's a video on the website that tells you how.
Yeah. And not only that, it comes with its own kit of tools.
Okay.
Gloves, tools, the whole 9 yards. It's duct tape. So we'll be able to do that. That bottom picture over there is just somebody laying on one of those stretchers.
Okay.
But we'll be able to take care of patients going down the road even. You know,
Will it run emergency traffic?
No. It will not run emergency.
We'll make sure it's clear.
No, sir.
So you just need our approval to proceed with it?
I just wanted to let you know what we were planning on doing and kind of getting your blessing, and that would be it.
Well, there has been times, and there will be future times that things
Yes,
like
sir.
this are going to need to be used.
Hopefully it'll never have to be used.
I'm telling you, but if
It's one of those insurance policies, you know. You never have to use
using the mayor's, some of his quotes, there's a tool in the toolbox.
Yes, sir.
Is there any type of license requirement to drive that? I know they're
because-
exempt for emergency personnel, but when you're talking about transporting
The
a
only
certain
thing-
number of people versus
Right.
like an EMS driver's transporting most of the time 2 at most.
The only thing that you have to have is an F endorsement, which is a for-hire endorsement. All of our people have to have that anyway.
I just didn't know with the number of,
Yeah, we thought the same thing, and we looked it up in the TCA code, actually, and it says, since it is being used in disaster situations, emergency vehicle, it is considered an emergency vehicle, so there's no special license.
gotcha.
Have you got room to park it somewhere?
Yes, sir. It's going to be parked up at the sort building inside,
And
climate control.
What's it gonna cost you to maintain it per year?
Well, we really don't have an idea about what it's going to cost. However, we've been assured that we might get some assistance with that too.
What are you pulling out of the sort building?
I don't know what Chris is pulling out.
You know what they're pulling out and where they're moving it?
What about the bus itself? I mean, have you checked the maintenance records
Yes, sir.
on it? We're
The
not gonna
city
get an
actually
overhaul on a
Yes.
engine right off
No,
the
sir.
bat? Or?
The city actually
Come on, man.
keeps really. I mean, they keep records on these buses probably as well as we do on ambulances, and so we've got all the maintenance records on the bus and the whole 9 yards.
What's the mileage on it?
I know this. I can't. I'd be afraid to tell you. I looked at the mileage, and it had a lot less than most of our ambulances.
And you got the money in your budget to paint it and rig it?
I think we can probably. I'm trying to get some of that donated.
So you don't know if you have the money?
Well,
You know you don't have the money unless somebody gives it to you.
well, we'll cross that bridge, I guess. It doesn't have to not look like a bus, but it would be better to be identified as an emergency vehicle rather than a school bus.
Well, you know, if you don't get it painted this year and you get the stuff in
Exactly.
there, it could get painted next year.
Exactly.
I mean, or put it in the budget or however.
That's what I was planning on doing.
But if it costs, if all it's gonna cost us is a paint job, I think that's probably money well spent for something that can be utilized, you know. And when you need something that size and you don't have it, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You tie up 5 or 6 ambulances with 12 people, then you got the rest of the area that's not being covered. So it's a logistics position is what that is.
Mhm. It also has places for wheelchairs and things like that, and a ramp on the back, so that we can bring patients up into the bus.
Well, do you need an emotion on this, Commissioner Paul?
I think we need to support. I mean, I think the committee ought to either support or tell them what they needed to do. In my opinion, I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion to recommend that Public Safety approves receiving of the bus and the kits from the state, and that the ambulance service proceed with equipping it.
Is there a second to the motion that's on the floor?
Second.
And a second. All right, discussion. I kind of feel there may be some discussion further.
I still want to know what's getting pulled out of the sort building. I'm just confused because the EMA director don't know.
Well, first of all, I mean, that, to my opinion, on that question, would be that's between the mayor and Mike Dudley and the EMA director. They can work that out.
We got 2 of the 3 here and we can't figure it out.
Well, that's not our job.
Well, I just asked the question. They can't, you know.
That's to me, that's between the mayor, the director of the ambulance service, and the interim director of the EMA. I mean, that's my thoughts. You know.
Well, I just asked a question. I just like to get an answer, but if I can't get it, I'll get it another day.
I'll make sure you get it.
The other thing is that since it's, if it's a paint job, it's going to either be donated or come out of their budget. That doesn't have to go to budget committee or anything, does it?
I wouldn't think so. Maybe.
If we can't do it this year, we'll make sure that we get it in next year's budget.
Well, if you have a big apartment fire or something, or heaven forbid, one of these high school gyms one day, something happens while there's a basketball game going on, it'd be a great thing.
All right, we got a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor? Motion, you got something?
I was asking a question.
Okay.
Is the motion, like, there's no appropriation for this
Right.
motion? We're just simply accepting the bus and accepting the equipment? Okay.
Well, because
And they can
the
put the
appropriation, the state's already appropriating, and the bus is donated, so there's really no cost unless we pay it.
That's correct.
Okay.
Somebody has to insure it and put gas in it and maintain it, and, I mean, there's no such thing as a free, I mean, I support the concept of doing this, but I just want to be sure that we understand that it's not free. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else?
Well, Mayor satisfied me there, so.
All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For my information, 2012, how many times would we have used this thing at all?
I think there was a very good possibility, you know, back when we had the floods, you know, things like that, and especially since it was right around the nursing home right there. And again, it's an insurance policy that I'd really rather not use, but I think that over the period of the last 10 years, we would have been able to use it a couple, you know, more than a few times.
Well, when we moved the hospital, we would have used it for there, for sure.
Well, you don't want to use, fire engines, you don't want to use ambulances, you don't want to use any type of emergency equipment, but there are times that I tell you what, from a standpoint, in my past history, I'd rather have something sitting there and then not need it than not have it and then sit there and need it.
Absolutely.
That's a heck of a feeling to be in. So that's just my thought.
The only thing that and, you know, of course, we've already done this, but, you know, as far as mutual aid goes, and say we send this to Clarksville, like where they had that big tornado hit quite a few years ago, and we send it out, like we've got, you know, the other truck that we've got that we use for communications, but we do get reimbursed on these things, so that's the point I want to bring out is
through the mutual aid, that the law that the state done years ago, we can get reimbursed through the FEMA process, and there's a set amount that we get reimbursed through FEMA. So
well, that's what concerns me is, you know, pulling our personnel and people out of here, and it just gets through every month. He's telling us how many people he doesn't have for his vacation time and stuff like that. And, you know, we're pulling people and resources out of this county when we're doing that. I just want to make sure we're being compensated.
well, and also you know, we want to help our neighbors, because I know a time when we needed help.
It goes both ways.
It does.
I
It goes both
understand
ways.
Now, and that's what I was, to get reimbursed on the FEMA, it has to hit a certain cap.
Right.
So if it's below the certain cap and we're just sending it out all the time, we're not going to get reimbursed. It has to hit a certain disaster
Right.
level to get reimbursed. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. So we don't get reimbursed every time it goes. Anytime we send resources out, we don't get reimbursed unless it hits a certain cap. So I think the commissioners need to know that, because I think we've been not misled by MS, but on the grand scheme of things, anytime you hear mutual aid, whether it be the fire department, emergency management, you always hear like we're going to get reimbursed. Well, that's not always the case unless it hits a certain cap amount. And I think that everybody needs to know that.
But also,
And he can, the EMA director can probably, when he comes up, he can probably give us some more information on the caps, to where people know that we're not just going and providing Cannon County with a basic service. When they call us for disaster, we've been through this on this committee multiple times, but there is a cap that people do need to realize that has to be met before we get reimbursed.
But on the other hand, too, there's a double-edged sword on this thing. There's times when Rutherford County may need help from other counties, and it's happened, and we need to give if we're going to get. You know, we need to be good neighbors.
Called them twice in the last month.
You know, because you know, I mean, there's times when we may be, you know, Big Rutherford County. There's times when we need help.
Like I said, there's time when you work together on a daily basis, and there's time.
I didn't mean to start a bunch of stuff. All I wanted to know was, give me an example about how many times we might be able to use this a year. Sometimes none.
I
Sometimes
hope
maybe
never,
sometimes maybe a couple.
Yeah.
And they won't be joyriding in it.
No? I mean, no, no, sir.
All right, anything else on the issue? All right,
I do have one other thing that concerns EMS, and we've discussed it at meetings in the past, and I see Ms. Stevenson back there, and I was just wondering if she could give...
if you'll hold on just a minute, that's coming.
Okay, well, that's where I was wanting to get to.
All right.
You pointing at me?
Yes, sir.
I did look into it. We met, Mike and I and Sonia and Lisa and the mayor sat down together, and then we looked at some of the information that we had. It's not as big a problem as it may sound. I actually looked at it today some more, and I had some more information that I could use. And there's 9 people right now that come June 30th could lose time to sick time, could have it transferred then. They're the ones. The rest, if we take into account what's pending for them and approved for them, then they'll be within the limits that are set. Those 9 people, 4 of them haven't even asked off for any time. Best with the records that I had, because I got it from the person that does the scheduling, for the last 6 months of this year, of this fiscal year. 2 of them have asked off time and been approved, but they just haven't asked off enough time to get their levels down to the limits. And then 3 of them actually had some time denied. But even some of one of them, even if they'd have been approved, it wouldn't have been enough to get them down. I don't know why the 4 people haven't asked off for any time for the last 6 months, knowing that time is going to shift, but maybe they wanted it there. I don't know.
Is there a mechanism where they'll know that this is fixing to happen, or do they just have to keep up with themselves?
Well, I really don't know. I don't know if people are told beforehand. I know the only time that I remember this happening was, I guess last fiscal year when they, June 30th when it happened. I think Melanie let them know by email that this is what was going to happen.
Okay.
But she sends out a regular report on how much people have,
Right.
and people have access.
It should be
to how
left up
much-
to them to keep up their own.
And they know that there is a limit to the amount that they can accrue for the next year. But it doesn't affect as large numbers as you would think. There's a lot of people that are approved and pending for vacation right now, and if it falls through by the end of June 30th, then they'll be out of the woods on that.
And I'm glad to hear that too, because I was under the understanding, I'm not going to call names, but I had some paramedics come to me and asked about this. And it's why I brought it up. And so it's not as big a problem. There's only 9 people.
There's 9 people right now. Now something could change. There could be, several people out that would require some of those people that are pending not to get their vacation, and it may increase by that. But even so, if we were just to look at the numbers today, there's 30 names of people that are, that would have the limits by June 30th.
Okay.
But they're all scheduled for vacation, either approved or pending right now, that would take them below the limits.
I know, and this is just ambulance service, and I know, Sonia, this may have been a question for you. Do we know county-wide and county in general, there's 9 in the ambulance service, do we know the big picture of how many it is?
Of the number of people that, what?
That would, their vacation time reverts back to sick time?
I don't have that. I mean, I pulled a leave entitlement report, which tells me how much unused leave is out there. And I know that when we did this process, when we did sit down and look at it, Lisa and I looked at the county as what is unused that would roll over. And I think it's June 15th of each year. Once it gets to that cutoff level is when it's rolled into the sick leave bank. But I don't know the exact number of people that would happen with.
Are the county employees required to use a certain amount of vacation each year? Or?
No.
So we're at Murfreesboro, we have to use 2.5. At the fire department, I have to use 2.5 shifts. I don't know what that would equate to a 40-hour-a-week job, but we have to use 2.5 no matter what, and then anything else beyond that we can accrue. So I guess there's some difference there versus...
We don't have, some organizations do that, and you have to use,
It equals
prior
out about 5
employer, I had to
days.
use one of my weeks for sure per year, and then the rest of it could be accrued. So different people, the county just doesn't have a mandatory, you have to take X number of days a year. We don't have that. With the whole process in that if you don't use it, it's gonna roll into that other bank, which is, I think is what the city does as well. After you get to a certain accrual amount, it will roll into your maternity leave, and FMLA, which is under our sick leave policy, is how the city of Murfreesboro does some of that with your annual leave, according to your handbook.
No,
Jeff,
ours
people,
keeps rolling into.
Let it roll.
but here, there's other thing you gotta look at too, is some may be looking towards retirement and letting it roll into sick leave, and it'll wind up being in retirement. They also may have some kind of surgery coming up that they want to make sure they have enough time to recoup. Knee surgery, I just throw that out. You're talking, it'll be a while before they'd be back in the truck. And they might, they'd like to get paid during that as opposed to taking some now and then eating beans.
At the ambulance service, it don't seem like it's a big problem from the stuff that you're telling me tonight that I thought it was.
Well, I think there is a perception problem more than a real problem. And I think that
it may be going back to what we were talking about a while ago about the number of people trying to get off and they can't get off type deal.
partly, and partly is we just can't allow people to be set in stone too far in advance. We have 2 positions a day that we allow to be set in stone, even a year in advance for vacation requests, which would be 3
Because you
shifts
got
or
minimum
more.
staffing that you got to do, then you got
Yeah,
floating
and we're
days.
just taking a leap of faith that we'll be able to fill those 2 spots. Now, outside of that, we leave it as pending up until 30 days out. And then, so you can see some days there's 5 people on vacation on a given day, even though a year in advance, we only allow 2 spots to be set in stone.
Right.
As, so people have trouble planning. It's just not possible for us to do more than 2. I mean, we could do 3, we could do 4, and it is kind of an arbitrary number. But
Right.
2 is what we felt comfortable, that we felt like we could guarantee a year in advance, because we can't even cover it until 30 days in advance, because the person that we would cover it with a year
Right.
prior might not even be working with us. So, we just have to manage the best way we can, and that's
I know
how
I
it's
spent
set.
17 years managing those things. I know exactly. Because you got a certain staffing level you got to do. You got a certain time of, y'all know that you got Kelly days involved, or you've got sick leave, FMLA involved. You got the number of people that you can let off for minimum staffing. So I understand that. That's answered my question. Is
If it's that only a few, I still don't see why we can't do it. That's my opinion on it. I mean, we should accommodate these employees and help them out any way we can, is my personal opinion. It's not, if it's only 9 people, it's not costing that much. It's not that big a deal. It's not like there's 2,000 people that are going to be, and then we're talking about a department that,
but we don't know.
well,
for the whole
we
county.
can get that back. I'm sure she can get that in the next, in due time. But it would be interesting to see that. And anything we can do to give these employees a benefit and help them out, I think is the good thing. It shows good faith on our part to help these county employees out. And if it's not that much, and these guys work 24 hours just like we did. It's different. People don't get it, but it's truly different. And anything we can do to help these EMTs and paramedics out and help them out in the long run.
I've been trying to do that for the last 20 years.
And like I said, if it's not that much money, and there's not that much exposure there on the county part, I just don't think.
But we don't know the full exposure. We just know 9 right now in the ambulance service. We
That's
don't- we
projected. I
don't
mean,
know.
it could change. It could
Right.
be. Right now, if it was set today, it's closer to 30. But I looked through to see those people, how much time they've requested off between now and June. And it drops the number all the way down to 9.
Because they've already scheduled time
They've
off
already
between now
scheduled time
and
off
June
between now
the
and then.
15th.
Or pending.
Or
Right.
pending, and more than likely, they'll either be denied, pending, or approved. Well, if they've been denied, that's
So
one thing.
that
So
9
pending means,
could turn into 15. Or it could turn into 6.
yeah, because could be several people that spur of the moment ask for time off that is available, because you saw the drop in January. Well, February is in March, and they're not the big days that people like off. You start getting closer to summer, then people want off. So it's harder to get off in June and July than it is,
Right.
you know, spur of the moment wise.
And the last one I brought you was in December.
Yeah, but if someone's wanting off, how far in advance do y'all let them request a vacation day?
A single day or less than 3 days, they can request as early as they want to, but it will not be posted until 30 days from that date. A vacation that we consider 3 shifts or more can be requested a year in advance and posted a year in advance.
That way they can
But no
schedule.
more than 2 people firmly
Per
can
shift.
be placed, the rest will be pending. So if you're early and, you know, and it's all based on on first come, first served, not seniority. So even the newest paramedic or EMT, if they're first to ask, then they would be posted first.
I guess sometime in June, we'll know our answer or what that is, and we'll have a
Right.
firm number
We'll have
then,
a-
and maybe we can come back and discuss this then when we have some better data to.
Yeah, and
I
that
mean,
will
that's,
be it.
I just want to be fair to these folks and not, I mean, we don't have to make a decision tonight on anything, but if we wait till then, we'll know what the numbers are. And I'm
Right.
sure our HR director will have county-wide numbers, and then we can look at it then.
I'd like to see, I'd also like to see the county-wide and see what it would look like.
Now, exactly what is it that you're wanting countywide? You're wanting to know how many people would have hours rolling over and how many hours would roll over?
How many county employees would roll over, their vacation would roll over into sick time?
Okay.
And the reason why it was such a problem with EMS, not really a problem, is the minimum staffing where somebody in a small department of 1 or 2 or 4 or 5 people department, when they want vacation, they can get off anytime they want to pretty much. But these EMTs and paramedics, they can't get off anytime they want to. They have to request it, and their wife might be a school teacher, and it might be summertime, and they don't get to go on vacation because they couldn't. You know, and I just want to, but now we're going to roll their vacation over to sick time without them wanting it to, and that just doesn't seem right to me.
Where are you gonna see it most at, son, just my opinion, is you're gonna see it at the ambulance service, you're gonna see it at the sheriff's office, you're gonna see it probably at the workhouse, maybe juvenile detention, maybe. It's people where it's the 24-hour day. Ambulance service is a little different because they're 24-hour shifts. But you're gonna see it more than that because there's 365, 7 days a week, the staffing
Well,
requirement.
they have to have, with their staffing model, based on it being a public safety department, they've
Right.
got to have X numbers of.
Right, and you're gonna see it more there than you are in other scenarios, I think.
Well, the advantage that some of the other departments have that is really kind of a luxury that the ambulance service doesn't have, because the nature of their job, they are 24 hours on, so it's not like they can split up, 3 hours into their shift, they can take off for 2 or 3 hours and then come back, because for them to bring somebody in for 3 hours is,
Somebody's gotta
almost
take the place.
impossible. But the rest of the departments, could sometimes fill in for 2 and 3 hours, somebody, a part-time as needed person come in, for a half a shift. We're talking 4 hours, then come in and work half a shift, whereas they can't necessarily do that, the ambulance service, and that they can take bits of a day instead of a whole day. Whereas at the ambulance service, more times than not, they're going to have to take the whole day because of the nature of the job.
Right.
So,
And the nature of the scheduling.
right.
And that's just my thought, is if we wait a little bit more time and we get the data we need, we discussed it, we know what the issues are, EMS has brought back some stuff, and once Ms. Stevens can get back the stuff, we can have a better discussion on it.
That'll work. All right. Is that all you got on yours?
That's all I have.
That's all I have.
All right, thank y'all. Appreciate it. All right, drug court.
Hello.
How you doing?
Pretty good, thank you. I want to introduce my intern. This is Lemuel White. He's master's level intern.
Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I've got him for 8 months, which is kind of special. So if I press this, will I see my report? Yeah. Okay. Well, you can see we have a full house, and it's going up. Both programs are going to be over capacity again. So we're probably going to have a initiate a waiting list again, which is frustrating, but there's so many people out there that need help, and we just can't afford to help everybody. So
Do you prioritize Rutherford County inmates, or how does that work?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Do you prioritize for Rutherford County inmates, or how does that work?
Just first come, first served, pretty much. You know, we find them appropriate for the program, and depending on when their court date falls is when they come in.
I think he's talking about, we don't bring in Cannon County, Warren County.
Cannon County we do, because that's part of our jurisdiction, yes, but that's all. No, we don't take, now, let me have a little asterisk on that. Sometimes a person will have a charge in Williamson County, but they live here, so they will transfer it to us. But we also do the same thing. If somebody has a charge here and lives elsewhere, we'll transfer it to their drug court. So there's sort of a mutual thing going there.
Can you, I don't know if there's a way to add this into your report, maybe an out of county, even though Cannon County is in your jurisdiction, and maybe something based on Rutherford County residents and Cannon County, just to get a breakdown, because I know their population's nil compared to ours, but just be interesting to see that.
Well, I don't think we have anybody from Cannon County right now. I think they're all Rutherford County.
Does Cannon County put any money into the drug court?
They give us their $75 fee, the drug court fee that was passed back in 2003. They give us that.
Good.
Any more questions on the report?
Crack is getting to be a big deal again for us. I would say the last 4 to 5 people that have come into the program are older and have a long history of crack addiction. And I don't know why that's happening, but that's what we're getting right now.
The meth and bath salts look like they're...
That just doesn't exist anymore. You know, people tried it, and they almost died on it, or they freaked out on it, and they're done with it. So all that's just not an issue. You know, for a while there we had some that were addicted to it and were really getting into it, but most everybody I've been interviewing here the last few months have all gone, oh, that stuff is crazy. And I go, yes, I know.
Looks like all this stuff on here is crazy to me.
Well, I agree. I agree.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the report.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and I just want to run one thing by you. It's like the ambulance. I just want your blessing, I guess, is I don't need your approval per se, but our support foundation did want to do more than they have been doing and offered to fund a position. What we ended up doing after discussions with the mayor and with Sonia Stevenson is we are developing right now, Sonia's developing the contract. It's going to be a contract employee, so it will not be a Rutherford County employee. There will be no benefits involved. It'll be flat pay. There will be quotas that they'll have to meet every month. They'll be doing all the home visits. They'll be doing all the mail drug screens, because the person that we have doing that right now is actually our DUI court case manager, and he, talk about hours, he's got like 97 hours of comp time right now. I mean, he just is there all day long.
The grant money going to pay for it? Is that how?
The foundation's going to pay for it, the support foundation, which is either grants or donations from the race.
Okay.
Okay. And my understanding from Sonia is that they will bill the foundation monthly for that person's pay, and the foundation will pay it right to Rutherford County. So, and then we're going to do it for a 6-month period of time, see how it goes. That person will also be doing an additional alcohol and drug intervention class, that 10-week class that we charge $325 for. We have a waiting list for ours right now, and we're trying to market it to the domestic violence people. I've mentioned that in the past. So this person is going to start another class, and we hope that it will be as successful as this other one, so that at some point this will become a full-time position, and that class will be bringing in his salary or her salary, because the one we're doing now with Kay is doing that with her.
Okay.
So we've thought it out, you know, and the person that we hire, which is actually going to be Lemuel, he's well aware that, you know, that it's totally dependent on whether the money's there or not to pay him, so.
Well, let me ask this question.
Sure.
Nothing against him, but is there a way, as far as contracts, is there some kind of law that we gotta go by? We have to bid the RFPs on a contract, anything like that?
Sonia, do you know?
Sonia's not here.
Oh, she left. Oh, gosh, okay.
I think this would be basically a professional service.
Okay.
Yeah. She likened it to what they've done with Ms. Shelton, that
Okay.
contract that way.
Okay.
Is that what she keeps referring to with me?
Oh, okay.
So it'd be that type of thing.
Okay.
And then the support foundation will actually provide the funding.
Okay.
So we're just waiting for that to get done, the contract to get done, and as soon as the attorney and the mayor and everybody approves the contract, Mr. White will be starting. In addition, he'll be doing his internship too, but those hours will be separate, because this will only be a 30-hour-a-week position.
Mayor?
We probably should bring it all through the contract and a budget amendment concurrently.
Okay, so it may be a little bit longer than we thought.
What's if you'll just get everything together and meet with the mayor, and that way you can bring it back to the next public safety meeting?
Okay, we can do that.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? All right.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Paul's. And we've got the report and budget on his, I believe. Did you get?
Oh, Tiffany in here.
That's right. That's right. Do a report first.
Okay. For the month of January, we had 591 animals that came into the shelter. 31.8% came from the county jurisdictions, 11.3% came from the city of Laverne, 44% came from the city of Murfreesboro, and 12.9% came from the town of Smyrna. We had 145 animals that were adopted out, 288 animals were humanely euthanized, 93 were reclaimed, 5 died, and 19 had other outcomes, for a total out of 550 animals. Our adoption reclaim percentage for the month was 43.3%. Our euthanasia percentage was 52.4%. Out of the 93 animals that were reclaimed, 48 of those were part of the PIT-SNP surgery program. At the end of the month, 162 animals remained in the shelter. 2,107 people visited the shelter looking for a lost or a new pet, and we had 2,228 logged calls and voicemails for the month. We had 1,522 calls that were received, 1,638 calls that were completed out. You can see the jurisdiction breakdowns of those as well. And for the month, we had 10,864 miles that our officers traveled. Fiscal year to date, we've had 4,584 animals into the shelter. You can see the adoption reclaim percentage is 29.3%, and our euthanasia rate was 63.9%. 13,681 people have visited the shelter since the first of the fiscal year, and we logged 15,502 voicemails. We've had 9,343 calls that were received and 9,532 that were completed, and we've traveled 3 miles short of being 70,000 miles for this fiscal year. The last page of the report is the rabies exposure and bite report. Ours is just like Dan's on his OSHA. We start over, go calendar year versus fiscal year. So for the month, we had 22 bites. 3 of those were tested, none tested positive. And we had 5 other exposures that were reported. 3 of those were tested, and none of those were positive.
Any questions on his report?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, do I have a second? And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next is the budget.
Yes, sir. I apologize, we're not able to print out legally, so it's kind of separated on 2 different pages. You all tell me how you would like for me to handle this.
I think we've got,
I've also provided you a paper copy. I thought that might make it easier for you all to look at and be able to take a copy home with you.
I think the one on the iPad is roughly the same way, isn't it?
It is.
We'll just go by the paper, I guess.
Well, how about at the beginning, what are the standards on this? Okay, is it, have you talked with the mayor about it?
Yes, sir, the mayor and I met last Thursday. We already
Okay,
approved
and
it.
is the salary, is there a salary increase in this, or is,
This does include the step increases if
it
they're
does
approved.
step increases?
No new positions.
Okay.
Correct.
It's a continuation budget,
Yeah, except,
except when you get down to the vehicle.
yeah.
What are the asterisks on each? Just something where it's went up?
My knowledge, when I wondered the same thing, the best I can tell from the asterisks are line items that were amended during this fiscal year thus far.
Tell me about 399.
Okay.
What are they, the contracted services?
$75,000 for that contracted services is the contract that we have with all 10 animal cremations.
Okay.
For them to remove animals from our facility to be cremated as well as roadkill.
All right.
That contract, I think, is in it's about as old as I am here. I
Yeah.
think we're going into our third year this year.
It was a three or 5 year?
It was a 5-year contract, yes, sir.
Okay, well, let's go to the motor vehicle. What kind of vehicle is it?
What we're looking for is to replace one of the vehicles in our fleet. It's been 2008 since we've had a new vehicle. We have 10 vehicles. This would buy a truck chassis, and if you look over into the 790 other equipment, it includes money in there to buy a new unit. The average mileage on our vehicles right now is about 145,000. We have vehicles that are daily drivers that have over 200,000 miles on them. They're 2001 vehicles. The newest vehicle we have, like I said, was a 2008, and I think it has 80 or 85,000 on it. We've asked for this previous to the point to where we basically have got to get on a rotation to where we're going to have to replace one every year to get these vehicles back in shape. I think the mayor's terminology was we've kicked the can, correct?
Well, we've not replaced any of his vehicles basically since I've been here, so we need to replace at least one per year. It's just time to do it, we don't.
Most of your companies are going to require a 3/4 ton vehicle. Most all of our vehicles mainly are 3/4 ton extended cab, so we have the ability to carry more equipment in the extended cab part, and then an animal transport unit on the back. Our oldest vehicles right now in the fleet are 3 vans, where they've come in and built cages inside of those vans. And I think, number it serves, I believe they're 3/4 ton as well.
Basically, what you're buying is a chassis, and then you're gonna take the part that's on the old vehicle and transfer it to the chassis.
No, we're to the point to where we have, the vans are probably gonna be the first things that are replaced. They're gonna have to have new units. The units that we have they're shot as well.
That was the $20,000 you're talking about, the 7
We have money and other equipment that we set aside for various poles, veterinary equipment, those type things.
What line item are we
That's on
talking?
the second page, sir. The 20,000 there, 16,000 of that is what I've set aside for the animal transport unit.
So you're basically 43,000 for the unit. Well, it'd be
23 and 16, so is that 39?
Okay.
Anybody else?
The gasoline, you're talking, just looking at what it was roughly, that you run 10,000 miles a month. So that's 120,000 a year.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty good. And it says 38,000 in gasoline. Now that's got me wondering if the,
If that's
you know, I
if it's
can't
too low.
imagine that those 3/4 tons are getting very good mileage.
They do not with those units as well. Basically, when you think of on the news, the high-profile vehicles during the wind and those type things, that's what our vehicles are.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 38,000 for gas, that was an increase over this year. The mayor and I discussed, I think he said gas had gone up 20% within the last 30 days or so. So we're hoping that's going to hold and that we see it come back down.
Why is your department request less than your budget amendment? What's the big changes? Because your budget amendment is 1.5, and it's 1.4 on the department request.
Correct. Your biggest changes were this year you had the PIT SNP grant that was amended in.
Okay.
And then you also had the amendment that was in for the mobile adoption rescue trailer that we pulled from the donations.
Now, what about your revenue, on your revenue
It's
side?
over,
Because I noticed that you didn't get any money from the city of Laverne last.
correct,
You got a donation from the city of Murfreesboro and the town of Smyrna.
correct. We have been contacted by the city of Laverne, by their finance director, and to ask if we were going to send in a appropriations request, which we are, which I've included at the back of this packet. Basically, we've always tried to get everybody to the $12 threshold. Right now, Smyrna is at the $12 threshold per call. Murfreesboro, their calls have gone up. They went up 9% last fiscal year, so to get them to the $12 per call, we're going to request to go to $68,500 versus the $65,000 that we've been at as long as I've been here. Smyrna, we're not going to ask for anything additional. And then to put Laverne at the $12 per call, we're going to request the $27,000, which is what we've requested every year that I've been here. When I first got here, I believe we received 15 from them. We requested 27 every year. They increased it to the 21 the very first year, and then last year they took that down to zero.
Now, this money coming in contributions, what does it go for? Does it go into your budget, or does
It
it?
just goes back to the general fund to help offset the cost that the county's spending out of general fund.
Okay. The reason why I was getting that, my personal opinion, I don't think Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne should give a dime, because I'm already paying tax money as a resident of Rutherford County. And as a resident of Rutherford County and a city of Murfreesboro, I'm getting double
I
tax.
understand.
Same thing Smyrna and same thing Laverne. I think if we're gonna run Paul's off of tax revenue, it's a blessing. It's a good thing they do, but, you know,
I
I
understand.
wanna make sure that that's not dependent on that. We're not dependent on that money to pay the bills when I'm getting taxed twice
I
on it.
understand. That, we don't see that money. On the revenue page, the only money that Paul sees is the estimated donations, because the commission had decided to put that into that reserve account for those special needs, since people have donated that money for specific purposes. But the rest of that revenue is money that's turned over to the general fund.
And it's nothing against Paul's. I think of it the same way with solid
I understand.
waste.
I understand, sir.
I hate it across the board what we
Right.
get double taxed on as a
I understand.
city resident. Nothing against Paul's. Y'all do a good job. I
Appreciate
just,
that. So,
Well, this is something the county doesn't have to have.
you're right. It
We could
doesn't-
let,
I tell
the cities.
The county has to have this.
Yeah, well, we may, but we're not required, let's put it that way.
It would be a help.
Service to the cities too.
Huh?
You know, that's a cheap
are
price
there
for the cities.
any other questions on the revenue page?
But I'm already double paying
Is
for it.
is there any other questions on this revenue page?
Just the bottom line, the estimated total revenue, is that really 2010 and 11?
Yes, sir. I apologize for that. Yes, sir.
What's
No, that would be for 2013, 2014. Yes, sir. I apologize for that. I'll update that before it goes further.
You already got one.
How close were you to your estimate last year?
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. Right now, we're running, based on what we're running for this fiscal year, we're running on pace. I think for this year, we had projected, it was roughly the same. It was within $10,000 of each other, I believe, next year versus this year. On the five-year budget plan, you can see there the items that we've included here, which were in our original budget, was the truck chassis and the transport unit, PC replacement, and then surgical equipment. The parking lot ceiling and repair, we've got some potholes that are coming up. If things hold well this budget year, and I hate to even say this, I told the mayor this the other day, we should have enough money in our budget this year in our maintenance repair of buildings. That's pending we don't have air conditioner problems like we seem to have every year. But I'm hoping we're going to be able to do that this year to get that parking lot back in shape. You can see how I've projected out all the way through 2018. What I indicated a while ago is we've got to start replacing the vehicle every year.
And as it states right now, there's no vehicle in your budget. So we
There is for next year, yes, sir. It's at the very bottom of the first page, line 718.
Okay, I didn't know if the mayor had amended that or.
We haven't gotten that far just yet. But he's got the initial, then of course he usually goes further from there to make his recommendation. And then I included, just for your information, the stuff about Laverne, Smyrna, and Murfreesboro. It shows the number of calls that we've received for those areas. And this is based on fiscal year 2011, 2012. And it shows the appropriations that we're asking from each one of those.
Are you saying the mayor has agreed with this recommendation that you've got?
Yes, sir. I mean, it's just preliminary at this
Let me
point.
say this, in this particular budget, I don't have any reason to not agree with it. You might say, I'm going to sort of reserve final recommendation until we actually get the budget, because it's incumbent upon me and all of us to look at the whole picture before we know really what we can do. But there's nothing here that we really have much flexibility on except that one vehicle, and that's already past its time of needing to be done, so that's.
I'd like to see it done, especially if I'm having to pay for it twice. I want, if the city's giving a donation, I want to make sure we get vehicles and replace them. I think, you know, there's the money, especially if he gets all three appropriations. He got shorted last year, but if he can get all three cities, I think we should try to make it happen. We can't get any further behind on our fleet, including Paul's, not just EMS and fire. But
Budget's still 40,000 less than it is this year. Never know if something came in and bring.
getting a donation to pay for it. I mean, you know, it's hard to argue not to do it.
All right, you got anything else on this? All right, what is the will of the committee?
Make the motion to approve the budget as presented.
Subject to final recommendation by the mayor and the budget committee.
Is that any part of your motion?
Well, it's got to go before the full commission anyway, so I make a motion that public safety endorses this budget. Is that fair?
My recommendation would still come in budget time.
Exactly.
All right.
I'll second his motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second, our discussion. Hearing or seeing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
All of your air conditioning and everything is working super duper.
Commissioner, I'm not going to answer that at this point.
I can't go again, I'm sorry.
It's been a long
I thank you. All right, EMA, report and budget.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Fine, sir.
Got the report on your...
Yes, sir. Nothing outstanding as far as call volume or anything like that on the regular monthly report. If you'd like to review that for a moment, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Staff attended a volunteer planning meeting in Franklin County. What was that volunteer planning?
That should not be on there. That was supposed to take place this morning, but it was canceled and was postponed. What that is involving is myself and several other EMAs that are meeting with some volunteer resource management capabilities to discuss logistics of volunteer coordination for large-scale events.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to build up on those capabilities.
Oh, I understand exactly what you're talking about now.
The NBA actually, it happened on Interstate 24 going underneath the overpass. For
On
the
Interstate
exit.
24, yes, sir. The vehicle had stopped at Joby Jackson to fix a flattened tire, and they had to remove the excavator from the trailer. And when they put it back on, they failed to lower the arm down to an appropriate distance to clear the next bridge, which it severely impacted and caused some severe structural damage to the 89 overpass.
Big veins on there.
Yes.
Any questions on the report? Hearing or seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. And next will be the budget.
Yes, sir. The mayor and I met and went over the budget and decided to pretty much keep things the same across the board from what you're seeing, with the exception of line 709, which is data processing equipment. We're looking at implementing some new voice over internet VoIP capabilities for our telephone system within the Emergency Management Agency to be able to increase our capability for call volume and management of emergency operations when we activate the EOC. Right now we're hardline copper wire, and if we activate our emergency services coordinators, have plug-in into the wall, but if people call in, they have to have people hang up and call another number. There's no way to transfer calls, and voice over IP is the way to correct this. It wouldn't be that much of a difference for our monthly bills, because we would have to delete the copper wire connections, and we would have a monthly service charge for the VoIP, but it would increase our capabilities for telephone communications. So we don't have an exact number on what that system is going to cost, so we're pending on the exact monies that will be involved. I know $3,000 of that is intended to go to tablet notebooks similar to the iPads that you all are using. Those are $200 a piece. We tend to allocate those to the emergency services coordinators, so they have a laptop capability to be able to get online and do the work they need to do when they're at the EOC.
I asked on, you don't have any grant money or anything like it in this budget this year, do you?
We've got $66,000 in the 12 grant. We don't know what's coming in on top of that, so that will have to be amended if any further grants come down the line.
So those grants are down tremendously.
Yes, sir. We only got $66,000 out of the 12 grants.
Well, it sounds like if they don't do something up there for long, it's going to be done.
It will dwindle out. Right now we're down to sustainment of capabilities that already exist. There are no new programs that are going to be attached to that, so it's dramatically decreased, and I see it disappearing shortly.
So the actual paperwork and stuff of those grants stuff is kind of dwindling down?
Yes. Yes.
Quite a bit.
We're about to finish out both 2010 and 11. We've only got a few dollars to finish out those grants, and 2012 will be short-lived because I actually only have 3 projects that are implemented into the 2012 grant, so we'll be able to close that out rather quickly.
The leases, we didn't have any in this fiscal year? That we didn't have to pay for the leases?
Tower leases, no, we didn't. But we're going to, as we continue to enhance our communications, we're going to be putting some stuff on some other people's towers.
Okay. Where's Kirkland?
I'm not sure. Mr. Gurley could tell you.
Kirkland is out in toward Williamson County.
Yeah.
College Grove, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now we see.
That's very much needed out there because there's some dead spots out there.
That is one of our blind spots, yeah.
Well, I see that in the budget, we're filling Mr. Allen's position through whether you're the next director and up the chart and so forth.
That has not quite been determined yet, and I have a proposal in relation to that. I'll hand this out because I did not have time, and I apologize to make adjustments on the worksheet.
What's his proposal here?
This is for an adjustment for position and salary.
Maybe.
We're not ready to talk about this.
Okay, Ms. Nolan advised me that I should talk about it.
You can tell them we're going to do this, but we haven't worked our way through this, and we're not ready to make a proposal or a recommendation.
In my opinion, with the mayor saying that, I don't even want to look at it.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So we'll keep things as is.
Whatever we do will be done within these dollars, within this budget. If we make changes, we'll change them and reflect them within the budget numbers that we have available. We're not quite knowing now where we want all of that to end up.
Well, that's why I was pointing out that in this upcoming budget, it's reflected in there on the upcoming proposed budget after July that the money would be there.
The money, what we got here money-wise, we'll work within that. It might be a change or two there. I'm not even sure there'll be any changes, but we haven't had enough time to really develop our thoughts there.
Outside of that, I have nothing further.
Okay. Any questions on the budget? And is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve EMA's budget, to basically outside of the increases that are in there for the steps and the longevity. The only other things, the rentals and that 5,000 for the equipment.
All right.
So I think he explained it well.
So is that a motion?
That's a motion.
And is there a second to his motion?
I'll second.
And a second. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is
Next.
that an extra copy of your budget?
Yes.
Give me one of those pages you passed.
Oh, I sure will.
Thank you. Now, you knew better than that.
I didn't think about it. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But she's one you don't get on base.
Yeah, I realize that. First of all, we'll go over my report. The first sheet is just some activities of things that I've done and some of my people have done over the past month. One thing I didn't put on there was we responded to a structure fire Sunday morning about 12:30. We were paged out Roenbach Road, which is the last road off Highway 96 on the left, close to Williams County line. It come out that a woman was trapped inside. When we arrived on the scene, what we faced was a logistical nightmare with the road being so narrow, and the house was up on a hill. We laid a 5-inch line up the hill to the pumper and finally established water supply. And then we realized after talking with family members that the lady was still inside. And of course, she did perish. The hydrant was about 3 miles away, but by the way we set up, we had to nurse our pumpers. We had 6 tankers feeding the water supply. We had one from College Grove and one from Chapel Hill. And then we had 4 of the county pumpers that were transporting water. And by the time they went down Roenbach and made the loop, it was about a 10-mile loop. But once we established water supply, we overcome the obstacles that we had, and my guys and Animal guys did a great job. Upon arrival, we were notified that the lady was still inside. I sent 2 firefighters in the back door, or I didn't, but the command did at that time, and to search, and they searched the bedroom, and then went to make entry into the hallway. When they opened the door in the hallway, they were faced with heavy flames and fire, which pushed them back. Then we laddered a window where the lady's bedroom on the side, knocked the window out and tried to enter there. Of course, the flames and smoke was so high that they couldn't make entry. Those guys did a great job. They made a great effort, and of course we trained so hard and do so much, and it was disappointing to all the guys that happened in the way it ended up, but because they want to make sure that they can do their very best, and they did their very best. Everybody on the scene did a great job as far as establishing water supply, keeping it flowing, keeping it going, and we got a lot of good comments from the investigators that was commenting on how quickly we put the fire out, but it was one of those things that we just couldn't overcome. The next report is the MVA report. We had 23 MVA calls. The average response time was 10 minutes. And one of the things a factor that hurt the response time was on Saturday, the 2nd, when we had that snowfall that morning. It made the roads very slick, and I had a 27-minute response and a 20-minute response, one to Austin Mill Road and then one on the highway, Interstate 24 at the 99-mile marker. Other than that, the response times pretty much lined up. Next sheet is, I'm trying to utilize this new software we got. It's showing the training classes we held this month and the training hours. And like I said, every department in the county is invited to come and take part in these trainings. We train on Tuesday and Thursday nights, and we try to we invite all the other departments in the county if they don't have training, or if their people are not available on the nights they train, then they can still come and train with us.
That total number of hours, I guess that's actual hours, that's not times 3 or 4 people or whatever?
Yeah. The total training for that month is 658 hours.
But that's actual, that's not 10
man
people?
Hours. I think he's figured, he may be figuring that man hours.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 3 hours per person in that first one.
Yeah, there it is, it's at 3 passes.
Next sheet is the total water usage and call volume for each department and the total training hours per department. And then the last sheet is just what we turn into the codes department on structures that have been damaged that will have to pull a permit.
What did Las Casas use so much water on?
That was on that Sanford Drive fire, that 10,000 square foot home. That's where that water usage is reflected in this. We flowed a lot of water that night.
Yes, you did.
That house was burned up by the time y'all got there, wasn't it?
Well, it was 5,000. It was 10,000 square foot when I was the first person on the scene, and the whole back side of it was the back half was on fire, and that was about 5,000 square foot. That was 2 stories. It was already engulfed when I got there.
Nice if that thing been sprinkled.
It would have made a difference.
Any questions on the report? Hearing or seeing no questions, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Motion approved. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Next is the budget.
I did include in this budget a office assistant for the upcoming year.
You got an increase in your maintenance as well.
Yeah, it's 80,000.
And was it 27 pieces of apparatus?
We got 27 pieces of we got 7 stations, 27 pieces of apparatus.
And that's just for Rutherford Fire alone?
It's just my department.
27 pieces of apparatus.
And what's the newest, besides the rest of all the engines are 13 years old?
The Freightliners are 13 years old. The Laverns are 23 years old.
Now the administrative assistant secretary position, right now you're currently sharing one with emergency management.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know why we couldn't just roll that over. They're not having Homeland Security money like they were anymore on the EMA side and all their grants. I'd like to see that position rolled over to Chief Farley's budget, because the calls are at the fire department. EMA used to handle millions of dollars coming in Homeland Security, and now they're handling 32,000. And she did a lot of the grant administration. Well, they're not doing that anymore. So, and the pre-planning and the work that Mr. Allen had done for years, we've got the pre-plans and the planning in this county. Our EMA is not, and I'll give Mr. Hooker credit as far as setting the EOC up. He's not here, but if there's a way we could move that position over, I think it would be much better utilized in the county when you do your recommendations. That's just my opinion.
We'd like to, I respect that. We'd just like to give us time to look at all of this together in a comprehensive package, the fire department with the EMA, and see what we really need to do. I don't know what the recommendation should be. completely. I do know that Mr. Farley does need some more assistance. He's got it every other day, and they're sharing that person every other day. So whether we need one of those positions or two, sort of depends on what we do in EMA with respect to their total staffing, you might say, to accommodate all the planning. They're not doing a lot of things that needs to be done, and they've only got 2 people in there right now. And Mr. Gurley is more than full-time, as all of you know, just trying to get this communications system implemented. We'll take that under advisement seriously.
Well, I don't know about the swap, I mean, the moving on or whatever, that's here and there, but, I mean, I can see the need over there. How many firefighters you got?
I got approximately 100 firefighters.
100 firefighters. How many stations?
7.
And 27 pieces of equipment. I can see a need over there for an office assistant.
As a former fire chief, prior to Chief Farley, I just know when you got to get these reports into the state, the TFRs that have to be done, and making sure that, you know, he's got a nightmare on his hands. These volunteers are doing these reports, and he's got to make sure, QA them, make sure they're done and in there. And they go down there to where you're at, Commissioner Farley, so you know about those TFRs.
Oh, yeah.
And it's more than enough work for one to put on one man what he's doing. I commend him on that.
We basically agree with all of that, and we put this off. We didn't have a person period. We've shared a person, so it's given us enough time to really look at what we really need to do, and we'll evaluate that, and hopefully we can do this. Again, I know I sound like I keep being repetitive, but there's no potential real new property tax revenue, so we have got to be more than prudent in every decision we make, but yet still provide enough so that our people have the safety services they need.
What else on your?
I said this total budget would be $1,038,664 is the total of it.
And then what, 250,000 of it is a vehicle?
Yes, sir.
That highlighted?
It's in two pieces of equipment there.
Yeah, that would be a rescue truck, replacement truck, and then hopefully maybe go to that other tanker.
That's
so,
go ahead.
So the $250,000 is for two.
It's $210,000 for a rescue truck and $40,000 to put another tanker on.
Oh, okay.
On the truck that we had, so that we can get some water out there in that southern part of our.
Okay, I get you now. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we add the $210,000 in for the rescue truck. I'm not going to vote for anything on a tanker unless we spend and get a new one. You ain't going to see me. That's a waste of money. We've been down that road, and I'll leave it at that. We got to see how this first tanker gets utilized first before we go build a second tanker.
Well, we can see how it gets utilized, but I'd like to have it in the budget because we don't have water out there, and we need the ability to transfer that water.
I got a grant with the initials of C and H that can accommodate that. That we can write them. It goes right up their requirements. Well, public health and safety. So
a grant with initial C and H. And what? Enlighten us on this.
Christie Houston. That's how we purchased our ambulances for the last however many years.
Some of them we have. Yeah, well,
I'd like to utilize.
There are a lot of people that would like for us to make applications to that foundation, and we have to be discreet and
judicious.
Use some real reason there. We don't want to wear our welcome out.
Well, what about, we have a revenue problem here, and the drug court lady, she has a foundation where that foundation raises money. When I was a fire chief, we raised money. We did donations, and people were allowed to give to the fire department. And nobody gives to the fire department now. We used to do picture drives and mail outs. I'm not talking about fish fries and fundraisers, but we were bringing in, at Rutherford Volunteer Fire Department, we were bringing in $50,000 a year, just our station alone, and these people in the community giving us money.
That's back when it was a 501(c)(3), and I'm assuming, I don't know, I'm no lawyer, by no means.
County can still, I've already asked CTASC where they can give donations to the county.
We can accept that.
We can.
I know when I was in the county, before I was annexed, it was $90 a year is what we paid to whoever the fire department was up there.
We
The
ha-
Laverne area.
We have a revenue problem there, and I don't know what we can do
Yeah, it rings.
to help. And it's not fair to keep funding the fire department the same way and go backwards because we can't purchase trucks, and these trucks are getting older, and we're not addressing it. We're just saying, well, we hope the economy gets better. Well, these call volumes going up, fires are happening. I mean, we can't change that, and his maintenance cost is becoming astronomical. Now we're going to add a vehicle with 500,000 miles to it. I wonder what the maintenance cost is going to be on that if we run it. It's going to break down left and right. We got to do something here. System's broke on this funding, and it's not fair to the residents that don't really understand. And I don't know how we can fix it. Maybe we need to look at that and study it, but we got to. It's broke. And we can't just say, well, we can't get you a truck this year, because then the same thing will happen next year. The same thing. It's happened for 3 years. You know, they waited 10 years, the volunteers did. They waited 10 years, now we've waited another 3. If we wait another 2, you're just going to keep kicking the can down the road. We're not talking about a $62 million judicial building. We're talking about public safety vehicles that save lives and protect people. You know, we can't kick that can down the road too much further. So I'd like to see that $210,000 in there for a rescue truck. I know the rescue truck, the next one that's supposed to be replaced, I was on the rescue squad in 2000 when we re-chassied that truck on a 2000 Ford chassis, and that truck's so wore out it's ridiculous. It was wore out before the county got it.
So the increases that you've got is the rescue truck and the tanker, the office assistant, and your maintenance line item.
Maintenance line item, I've included some other.
Administration, 701's $30,000 to staff the administrative person, I guess.
No, that's turnouts for his volunteer firefighter stuff.
That's administrative equipment.
So we can continue.
That's the turnouts.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to
No,
be
that's for turnouts.
special computers and desks and that type of thing. is
You
what
can
it's
ask
for.
Commissioner Farley, the firefighting industry, then nothing's cheap.
And the administrative equipment, 701, that's for turnouts, boots, helmets, that's personal protective gear for the firefighters.
Okay.
With 100 people, you have to just, I'm trying to buy so much every year where it kind of rotates it out. That way you don't have to buy them, you don't have to buy 100 sets every year. That right there will probably purchase 20 sets if we're lucky.
And a set of gears about $2,500 to
About
$3,000.
about $1,700 a set. That's just pants and coat. That's not counting the helmet and boots.
Personally, I would like to look at this again next month after, and I would like the finance department to come and, well, just get up a list of it, of what our county's money, what's raised in the county that can be used for something specifically for the county. Okay.
What money?
What money, like the sales tax that's in the county, this type thing, as for something that the purpose is for the county.
You know, you talking about the sales tax?
Yeah, well, I'm talking that I want to know the amount of money that the county's generating to help pay for this
I'm with you.
county fire department. I know, I pay for a fire department. People in Murfreesboro are paying for a fire department, and a police department. We all pay for the sheriff because that's a jail and all this type thing. Smyrna pays for the fire department. And right now, and like I said, I know when I was in the county, I gave to up there $90 a year, and it was the old, what you were saying earlier, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I think that was across the bottom of the little envelope that came, if I remember.
Was that when Laverne was running out in the county?
Yeah. So, and right now, I know they did the fundraisers before we started this county thing, but I know a lot of people gave nothing.
Well, you go look
out there, and it made it rough, and it's somewhere in here. I mean,
You go look at
we give enough in this country, and keep giving and extending, I guess is a way to put it. Is that a nice way to put it? Unemployment 2 years long or something like that, and you get people that then decide they don't want to. I'm not saying them all, but there's some that say, hey, I'll take it as long as I can get it. But, now I want to see from finance what the county raises in sales tax and what the other taxes I know they got out there, before, you know, I say yes.
Let's say this. You're going to have to fund a budget for the fire department. Now, the revenue, we can give you those numbers on that revenue, but in any event, I don't know how we can change much except a few of these equipment items. The maintenance has got to be done, and we do have some flexibility on that position. We can continue to do without all that. So
I want to see where we're sitting now then with what's in the county. You just said we're not going to get new money from the property tax.
We're not going to make a full recommendation on this till we go to budget.
Right.
Well, just like on the 350,500 you give the volunteer fire departments, half of what that money they get goes to insurance. If they all came up under the county fire department, then that insurance would go away, and that's that much more money that we could utilize for equipment and training and stuff like that. But I mean, because like say if you give $45,000 to one of the volunteer fire departments, and like half that it goes to the insurance. So that's why they have to supplement it with
on their, I got two things. On their, when the independent volunteer fire departments, do they submit a budget to you for their donation request to see what, because I knew we used to.
They submit that to the finance department.
Okay, so we can
They
get.
really don't submit a budget, they submit what they've actually, they give an accounting for what they have spent.
Okay.
There may be a budget attached with it, but it's basically just an accounting for their expenditures for that year.
My second thing I was going to mention is the Smyrna Fire Department just went through a study, and Smyrna's a population in 2010 of 39,000 and some change. Rutherford County's unincorporated population was 82,000 and some change, or 87,000, somewhere in that number. The county fire service ran more calls than the town of Smyrna did, and they've got a budget of how many million? 6 million, 7 million, 8 million, I don't know that off the top of my head. But what I'm getting at is we got some major inequities here. Take the personnel out of it, but we're talking about replacing equipment and doing with the bare necessities. We're not meeting the bare necessities as far as equipment. I mean, you got a couple guys back here and they'll nod their head, I know they will. You run a truck and it breaks down on the way to a call. And I'm not talking about his department. I know of a couple other departments that's happened to, and their chiefs call me and complain because they know I'll stand up here and tell it to the mountain. I mean, they know how I feel about it, and it's frustrating when that happens. But that equipment is that old, and the mayor told me, he said, well, they don't have much mileage on them. And I told him, I said, well, you ran a construction business, you know when that truck that backhoe gets 5,000 hours on it, it's junk. It's the same way with these fire trucks. When they get a lot of hours on them, they don't pump as good as they used to. The reliability's there. They'll break down. Commissioner Farley, I know you know this because you were in the business. You know how expensive it is. But we got a revenue problem here. We don't have, and you hit it right on the head. We got to figure out a way to fund this somehow, and we got to have that discussion. And I don't know how.
We have some fire departments that have a high rate of call volume, and then you have some departments that have a very, very low call volume, so their equipment's not being run as much. But there are several departments with high volume calls, and so they're going to run a lot more.
Also, the insurance director said earlier this month that the new national health care plan is going to cost this county $2 million, round figures, and that includes what all's been coming through. So right there, you know, that's something we don't have right now, and that's why I got to see some way so I can say I need to see where some revenue is going to come from, and you know, and we need to know where we are right now in it, and you know, it's something we knew was going to happen 3 years ago when we approved this, but sometime we're going to have to look at the county and see how much, with what they're giving in revenue now, is what if it's going to pay for it. And when you need the trucks and you don't have them, you know,
the last time I talked,
we'll probably have to borrow money to buy trucks.
Well, you got to be careful with that because there's some TCA codes on that. You can't borrow money and give it. It has to be for his department. We can't borrow money and give it to the independent volunteers. There's a TCA code on that one.
Well, I don't know about that code. We'll research that, but we'll probably have to borrow that money when we buy that many trucks. We don't have the cash flow to do it otherwise. So there will have to be a way.
Mr. Chairman, have you got a second on the motion that was on the floor?
There is not a
I
motion.
don't think there's a motion on it.
Well, I do.
Yes, it
But I didn't
does.
know if it was just saying it for discussion. Commissioner Young did move to add $210,000 for a new rescue truck, but I didn't know if he was serious.
I thought he was just talking, I didn't know he made a motion. Did you?
I didn't make that motion, right? We didn't never got a second, I'm sorry.
You
Well,
talked
that's-
too much.
that was my
I thought
point.
you was talking to me.
If there's not a motion on the floor, I would like to make a motion.
Okay.
That we forward this budget to the budget committee without a recommendation and go from there.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, is there any other discussion?
I'm hesitant to add any new positions this year. I know he probably needs help, but looking at all the things the sheriff wants to add and school teachers, and we really have to prioritize and ask ourselves, is everything in here absolutely critical?
You're on the one-man show.
Well, I want to add a little discussion on that. How many kids have been shot in Rutherford County schools? And how many fire fatalities have we had in Rutherford County this year? Do the math. I mean, it's, you know, we're talking about adding SROs and we haven't looked at the other realms of public safety, period. What about the children in fires? We didn't discuss that. That's getting real. You want to talk about a child getting burned? That's just as bad as one getting shot, but we haven't done anything to help this man out. And that's the truth. We've had more fire fatalities in this county than we've had shootings as far as children getting shot. Or you know, I mean.
I agree with some of what you said, but I think we really have done something. We put this structure in place. We've got a system, a process, and I think we're building a foundation that's really going to produce a lot of benefits. So I think we're making progress, not as quick as we'd like to.
A
Commissioner
long way to go.
Commissioner
Yes,
Stevens,
yes, we did.
we wrote a grant last year for, safer grant for four firefighters. We got turned down on that grant, but we also put a grant in for a grant coordinator. We've got an email from the federal government stating that they want our bank account number and all that stuff. And usually what that signifies is that we're going to get that grant. Now, we haven't been notified yet that we're going to get the grant, but if we receive that grant, that would help pay for that position.
Is that a one-time grant, or is
It's a one-time grant, and it'll pay for that position for 4 years. And Ms. Elam feels very confident that when all the information is given back to them, that we'll receive that grant. And we've received the preliminary email, which 90% of the time signifies you're getting the grant, as these two fire guys can tell you. But as of yet, we haven't received it. So, but I feel pretty positive that we will.
And we'll know that before we take this on through the budget process.
We should know that before it goes to budget, hopefully.
can that money be used for something besides personnel?
No. It was for a grant coordinator.
It's locked in. You can't touch, you either give it back or you don't use it at all.
But we can use it for all these purposes we're talking about as far as administrative aspects of what we're doing there.
So it's a grant to get a grant coordinator?
Yeah, which we could be used as a set office.
To apply for more grants and to assist with other things, so it's.
I thought it was a recruitment or a grant.
And it's a safer grant for a grant coordinator who would say that's what the one that helps me does, is deal with all the grants that we do have. And when it keeps up with all the data that we have to turn back in the federal government, showing what we've used the grant money for and how
Doing
we
what she's doing now.
Yeah, basically doing what she's done now.
Which is basically what she was doing over at EMA, but EMA doesn't get the federal funding anymore. That's why I was saying take that position from EMA and pull it over to the fire department, because there's no grant money coming into EMA in large quantities anymore. That's why I come up with that alternative at the beginning.
And if it doesn't get out there, I will 100% agree with you on that, what you just said.
I mean, that's just my take on it. Is there was millions of dollars coming through Homeland Security down from the state, and we're down to 38,000, 32,000 coming in. We just saw the budget for EMA, and they're not coordinating millions of dollars anymore like they were 4 or 5 years ago.
All right. We got a motion and a second on the floor. Everybody understand what the motion is? Everybody want to read back? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
One no? All right. And let's see here, while you're up here, we had something from, did you have anything else on your?
That's all I've got.
We had something. This is,
I say the things nobody wants to hear.
it's something here from property management. I guess it's two property management, but I think, something was brought up, when we brought up tonight on fire hall.
On the fire hall, I believe the commission said it was to go back to property management for discussion about whether we should go forward with the renovation of the building that burned, or whether we should build a new building. I don't know what it said, bring it to public safety, but you have an opportunity to discuss anything you want to.
I said somebody here, and copy this to public safety and budget.
Maybe we should send it to public safety and property management both.
You may have, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, since Commissioner Jernigan's here, I'd like to suspend the rules and let him come up here and speak his piece, since that's his district and his concern and it kind of concerns public safety.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second? Second. Have a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Hold on, Commissioner.
This was brought up to us in the budget, and it was a quote on $165,000 on to repair the structure it is now. So I decided to go out there and look at it. I asked Chief Farley here, he went out there, looked at it. I got two gentlemen here, our chiefs, things over. I'd like to let those guys say just a little bit what kind of condition it is when I get through what I observed. When I went out there and looked at it, you got a block building there. And you can see, if you go around the building, the different walls, every one of them cracks down through there from the top all the way to the bottom. Some of them you can get your finger in.
Block walls.
Block walls. And then on top of that, this is one of the few fire halls. They don't even have a facility, they didn't even stay over at night. Most of the others does. I mean, they man it 24 hours a day, they've had it. But me personally, and they had a quote for a new, well, let me back up. Fostersville, when they built the new one in Fostersville, they built it for $365,000. In my opinion, instead of spending this $165,000, I think we need to go in there and bulldoze this down and build a new one and be through with it. We're going to be covering from now on. We're talking about how the fire department is covering all the county and trying to. And I just don't see, to me, I think it's going to be a waste of money to do this, not going to do that. That's my opinion and what I've observed.
So the estimate come back $165,000 to
That's my understanding.
rebuild it.
We have a bid that we've already taken. That includes the reconstruction and the cost of the engineering, et cetera, that we've already spent. We're already committed to it. So that's all in that number.
And
We've already taken bids and they're on the table.
And that 165, is that without a facility, living quarters?
When they rebuild it, they'll have it had a bedroom in it before.
It does have the space to put it. It doesn't have a kitchen facility in the little plans, but for a small amount of money, we can put the kitchen facility in one of those rooms there that's already in that current building.
Okay, are we talking using the same footprint then?
Same footprint.
Same footprint.
You'll be able to put 3 or 4 vehicles in the 2 buildings that they have there, plus the living quarters.
I challenge any of you to go out there and look at the shape of that building.
One thing, and I'm glad Commissioner Jernigan's brought this up. I came I stood up in that county commission meeting, beating my chest saying, we're wasting our money trying to refurbish this building. One of my good friends, Harold Douglas, took me out there and walked me through that building. And it's absolute junk. I mean, I wouldn't let my dog live in that building right now. That's how bad it is. You can't refurbish it. He's right. The only thing that's going good happen is raise it. Now, one thing these two gentlemen back here and I talked about, I said, would you work with the commission? They said, sure. I said, because they have a standalone bay out there right now that they keep their fire truck. They can't keep all their fire trucks that they used to have, but they got the fire truck. They got one bay that's got electricity and working. I said, would you be willing to work with this commission? If we can't do this building right now, could you wait and give us a little bit of time to either find grant money or budget it? They said, we would much rather wait a year and rebuild this building the right way than rebuild junk. And I agree with them. If we're going to do something, we need to spend money the right way and not waste a bunch of money. And if you hadn't walked through it, I don't see how you can vote on something unless you go walk through it, because that's the only way you can. It speaks volumes. I mean, the rafters are about blowed apart. The gusset plates aren't holding together.
All of that's going to be replaced, Commissioner.
Not on that part of the building. I looked at the plans. It's not that there's more damage to that than has been seen.
That building will be put into full codes compliance, which is not in. It wasn't in before this fire. It will be put into full codes compliance. The HVAC will be redone, reworked into full codes compliance. You'll be astounded at what you can do to refurbish and rebuild a building.
That building was built by volunteers on a Saturday morning.
But it is. I think the term that you used is a little junk is not appropririate.
Well.
So that's just my respectful personal opinion.
It would be a whole lot worse than junk if I could come up with a.
If I went over and looked at it, I believe you'd be.
Who's looked at it and made the determination that we can rebuild?
Well, our engineer and architect has crafted a very, very careful, detailed plan to renovate and rebuild that building, and it's doable and workable, and it will be completely code compliance, and it will have occupancy for people to stay there all the time.
Go out there and look at it, and you see how crowded it is right now. Even if you rebuild it, you still won't have that same problem compared if you go there and look for one Fosterville.
If we will,
too much room.
If we go rebuild the
Fosterville
building without drive-through bays, we can cut that $365,000 number down to make it more affordable, plus the $165,000 we're spending. And if these guys, and I told them they might have to wait, we might not be able to do it this year. And they said they would much rather wait a year and do it the right way than try to go do this the wrong way and push it through real quick.
With that being, with what he's saying there, we've got a fire engine out there now.
I've got a standalone building out there that was attached to the other building. I ran a underground power line to that with a meter. So that tank, that pumper is sitting out there inside the building with a heater. And then we've got fire service out there.
There's fire protection out there.
There's fire protection out there.
So if we did wait, we're not hurting our ISO rating or anything. We're still okay as far as.
There's a fire truck out there.
So that's what I'd like to see us do. And I know Commissioner Jernigan.
But the reason I say it, it's been brought up that there wasn't no fire protection out there. But I took care of that problem as soon as that happened. We laid a power line to that building, so we're.
When we do all the budget, and the mayor sits here and tells me we can't find that money to do it, then I'd rather wait. Let's do this repair, just like these guys have.
That saves the county money this year.
We can do out there till we can get the money to do it. That's what the volunteer fire department out there does be done.
Well, is this still the place that we want the station at?
Yeah.
Or it hadn't changed over time? Is it still a location?
I think the location is okay.
But in the study that was done by CTAS a few years back, that station was in a place where it needed to be.
And then the county did build another one-bay building down the road at the county convenience center.
Right there close to Big Springs Road, we've got the engine out there.
That was cause it's far out there. They'd keep the engine down there cause it's so far to get it to.
Right. We built a one bay right there down the station.
I would just rather wait and hold off on this project and do it right the first time instead of coming back and dropping 165,000 in something and not doing it right.
You said getting grants. All right, other than Christie Houston, what do you?
I think there's some possibilities out there. Maybe not on the full building, but some matching grants and whatnot. They did have a fire station grant through FEMA a while back. I don't know if that's still going on. But there's some possibilities, and like I said, if we don't do anything, if we bulldoze the building down because it's a safety hazard and they operate status quo, if we don't do anything this year and we come back next year and we build the building, we can do it right. And these guys are fine with that. I've talked to them all, and I said, I can't convince these 21 other commissioners, or I guess 19 others, because if Commissioner Jernigan votes on this with me, we'd support it. But I can't go ask you to spend a bunch of money in a budget year when it's tight. But I can ask you, just like he just asked you, and this is his district, but these guys wear me out over it. Let's just wait and do this the right way instead of rushing it something and spend that. We'll save money now because we won't have to do it this year. Let's wait and do it the next year and put it on our priority plan that we did wait. And then I know Commissioner P's on the budget committee, and he can relay that for the next year. Hopefully that what these guys did wait for this building and do it right. Hopefully there'll be development tax. Development tax has grown over time. So if we save what we're using this year and save what we're using the next year, we'll have the money there to do this thing right. And I think it's long term. I think 40 years from now, when none of us are here, that building will still be there and still be in use as a fire station. But if we spend $165,000 on it, we'll have to rebuild it again because it won't. I'm telling you, those block walls, he said it, you know, some things you just can't fix, especially when it's burned in a fire. You can't, and you can probably help me out with this. There's things that burn in a fire.
I'm fixing to disagree with you on that,
well,
because you can build stuff back. I'm
with cinder block walls and concrete and the spalling of it and stuff, I mean, you can build it back, but it's still not going to be, unless you replace every mortar joint on it, it's not going to be as strong as it once was.
But you still can build things back, though, my point.
That wall that has been burned in that particular room, that cavity, those block cavities are going to be completely filled with concrete. That's part of the specs. It's already in the price.
I just don't see it myself.
I mean, I respect your opinion, and if we had the money, all of us would want to do exactly what you're saying. We've got to somehow stay focused on.
Well, I'm not asking you to spend the money this year. I'm asking you to wait. That's what we're telling you, don't take any action.
That would buy a truck, a replacement truck, $250,000 more dollars for a building. This building, if we repair it and replace it, will last many years. Many years.
I disagree on that.
Well, it's okay.
If these guys want to walk through it, I'll get Chief or one of these guys to go down there and you can look at it with your own eyes. If Mark Bell wants to go down there and look at it and take pictures, he can go do that. I think people will change their mind when they see it. It had a gaping hole in the roof and rain was pouring in.
You wouldn't be wanting to do it.
No, you'd be fighting with the insurance company, but the problem is we got a $100,000 deductible. If this had still been Southeast Rutherford, they'd have paid $5,000 and got this whole thing. You know, their deductible's a whole lot less than
they would have got it replaced. They wouldn't have got a new building.
I don't know about that, depending on who your insurance adjuster is and whose ours is.
Our insurance adjuster only estimated that replacement repair cost to be $67,000, and he was way, way off. So anyway, I respect your opinion, and whatever you guys want to do, we'll do it. But I'm giving you my take on it, and I think we need to spend our money on equipment, maintenance, and response capacity and capability.
Well, you got to have a house to put it in.
I mean, the house is the least of the priorities.
If you don't have a house to put it in, the pump freezes, the pump goes out, and you $25,000 for a new pump. I mean, that's just, you got to have a station to put it at. You got to start with the fire station.
I wish to been a rule. These two guys right here is the ones there all the time. And just let them say their opinion. I won't tell you what I meant.
What's the will of the committee?
I have no problem with them stating their opinion. Make it as a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. No one come up?
Out of respect for Chief Farley, I'm going to hold my opinion. That's my personal opinion. I'm not going to bestow that upon any of y'all. What y'all recommend is what we'll support one way or another.
I'm the same way, but I do highly recommend y'all go look at the building. I really do. It's one thing to drive by it and see it from the road, but you walk inside the doors, it really can give you a more broad perspective on what you're looking.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we send to property management that we just delay this project and no further action on it. That way we're not spending any money and we hold off. And hopefully when times get better, we can rebuild the thing back. We just to spend the money. If I can get a second on that.
All right. So your motion is to
just
delay it?
Delay it until we can get the money to build it back the right way and send that to property management.
When you say get the money, how are we getting the money?
To appropriate money to rebuild the building from ground up.
You talking about grant money? You talking about tax dollars? You talking about
I just let that open because I want to make sure that we, I didn't put a time frame on it. I didn't put a funding mechanism or amount on there till we can afford to. We just did. Commissioner Stevens did the same thing on his SRO thing. It's fiscally responsible.
Okay. All right. We got a motion. Is there a second to the motion? Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay.
And we have spent money on this already. What is it, 19,000, Mayor? For
On
the
engineering cost is 17,000.
17. So we have spent some money on it. That's the only problem I've got. If we had the money, I'd be happy to build a new building out there. But, these guys would rather wait and take a chance of getting another building. I don't know that I would disagree with that. I tend to go along with the commissioner in his district. That's what the people over there feel. So, I'm open to sending it to property management and letting them look at it. I'd like to see what their recommendations are.
I could see delaying it a month, and we can make this same recommendation next month. Because I haven't looked at it, I haven't been out in that section in a while. But I don't think we'll ever have the money to do it. I mean, that's the way it is.
For a year, 2 or 3.
I know. But
you want to have the money.
Well, yeah, I'm saying you're going to have to look. You're going to have to put it in or something.
Get it, you probably won't ever get it.
Yeah.
We work, and to go along with what Commissioner P said, we do have plans to another building that we built in Fosterville. So with that being said, on money spent on plans, we wouldn't necessarily have to go get a whole new set of plans because we do have plans that the county already owns on the Fosterville plans. If that would, obviously it was a fire station at one location in the county. Hopefully we could reutilize those plans or.
You have to look at elevation and everything else, slot size, so I don't know. You may be right.
And hopefully, that's stuff we can look at. But the other thing is, this is not, we got a building out there, we got fire protection. This is not something that's absolutely critical to this dire second that we go rebuild this station. We can wait. Mr. Mayor?
I just want to say one thing. Let's focus on the ability to respond. We've been talking about the need for people to be housed in that building so that they'll be able to respond quicker. Now yet we're going to say we're willing to wait on that capacity. I think that's important as well as the building.
It's important, but at the end of the day, if they're not staffing, they still have to come from their house because we're not paying them to be there. So if they come, if they choose to stay down there, or if they respond for their house, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's volunteer until you start paying people and putting them in that house every day. But Commissioner Jernigan brought this to us. My motion is a non-money motion right now. It might be 2 years from now before we can do anything, and then there might be grant money there.
All right, we got a motion and a second on the floor. For no other.
I guess my question is, how does a licensed engineer and architect come to the conclusion that we can rebuild it if it can't be done?
Well, we've had a licensed and engineered architect who did the brick on our sheriff's department building, and then it fell off the side as well. So, sometimes people don't always get it right, even though they say they do. I could be wrong right now, but, if that architect and engineer was right over at the sheriff's department, brick wouldn't have fallen off the side of that building. So, the first time, and we wouldn't have had to spend all that money. But, you know, we built this building in Fosterville, and it's not even the county's fire department, it's Fosterville's fire station. We just built them a station. But this is a county fire station that the county actually operates, not an independent volunteer fire
The
department.
county owns that out there in Falls.
They do, we own it, but we don't operate that fire department. This is the county's fire department that we operate, and we're not even taking care of the county's fire department. We were taking care of elsewhere. This is the county's fire district here.
Commissioner Journey, you got it?
If nothing else, let's delay us a month. And then Farley right here, get with all the guys at this station, not one or two, all of them, and meet with them and see what they want to do. And come back next month.
So
Is this supposed to go to the property management?
Yeah.
Why would we be delaying?
That's right.
I'm not real sure why we would be delaying it, Commissioner Journey. It's supposed to go to the property management committee to make a decision.
That was my motion. My motion, I think, was to send it to property management to just delay the project, if I can remember correctly. Instead of a recommendation coming out of public safety just to delay this project in general and send that recommendation to property management.
When does property management meet?
Thursday night.
So we're going to get an answer within a week of kind of what we're going to do.
I don't know whether I could get all these guys together between now and then or not, but I'll talk to these guys if we could get all of them together before they meet. I don't mind going to property management. So we can do that.
You through, Joe?
Yeah, I'm
Mayor?
I just want to say that the bids that we've taken are only good for 60 days, and that's to extend them. And they might extend the bid. So that bid expires just coincidentally on the next commission meeting. So if we haven't made a decision by then, and they don't extend, you'll have to rebid this anyway if you choose to even leave it here. So that bid won't be good anymore.
I'm hoping about Thursday night. We've got with all these guys.
And if I lose this motion, I got two more. I got a committee meeting and a full commission to battle it. So you get to hear me again.
To forward to property management to delay and hold off until the county can get the money to rebuild the building from the ground up.
I'd like to offer an amendment to the motion, to just send the concept to property management committee and let them make a decision. That's my motion, to offer the amendment.
I'll second that motion.
Now, when we were doing the public works, solid waste thing, they wanted public works to make a decision, and it's property management decision to recommend what we might buy, sell, maintain, and I feel like they're in a much better position to do that than we are. So I'd rather send it to them and let them make the decision about what they think is best.
Okay. We got an amendment to the motion, and then you're seconding the amendment, sure.
Get it over with.
Confusing me. All right.
Okay.
All in favor of the amendment to the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, the motion then is amended to send it to property management without a recommendation. All in favor of that motion, amended motion, say aye.
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 That overpowers the first motion.
Right.
That's fine. I got one more thing. We just spent $220,000 on a dump. That's what it's at. It's a dump. Because they dump their trash there, and we can't build a fire station that burn up. I mean, just where are our priorities there? And I said that I get to say it public property management. So.
All right. Let's see. Fire station, you through, right?
I hope so.
I do, before we leave this about the county fire department, I do want to get the figures from finance for them to bring, at least by the time it gets to budget, or something with what we're getting out of the county that's actually county money, county people's money, not living in a city, but living in a county.
Are you talking about this going to the fire department?
No, they could go to the fire department.
Okay, all right.
With their other.
All right. Thank you, guys.
They got all kind of little taxes, too.
All right.
You got the hall income, you got the side issue.
Let's see here.
local option sales tax.
Oh, yeah, convenience, I mean, no, we're at the, we're
Correction, yeah. Correctional work time.
First time I ever voted on this.
Yes, it is a report, there's a report. All right.
Is the first in the minutes?
The minutes, okay.
Yeah. No, that's but let's see. Yeah, do the minutes first.
All right. The meeting was held on February 4th. Report of expenditures, everything went pretty good with that. We just reported that we had to spend $4,000 on, we had to put add a boosted power for kiosk machines in the inmate housing areas because of the, we didn't have any power outlets in that area. So they had a component that the vendor went halfway on that. The cost of that was actually $8,000, so we met him halfway to complete that mission. So the kiosk machines now are installed, and we're just waiting for the county OIT department to do their part as far as the software to have it up and running, but it's mounted and powered up and ready to roll. And we also discussed a grant which is in cooperation with the Guidance Center and the volunteer behavioral health staff. We authorized to write a mental health facility grant. The partnership will give us a full-time employee to make mental health classes available to inmates and employees. And the grant is going to be an 80-20 match, part of it 20% being in kind, which can include but not limited to office space, computer use, classroom space, and material. So we just want to make sure that the commission knew about it and with your blessing to go ahead and apply for the grant.
We need to act on that one, don't we? Mm-hmm. Okay. But before I make a motion, and that all of it can be in kind with office space and tables and this type thing? Because the way I read the minutes, it said part or all. Is that?
What part or all? Yeah, I mean, it could be,
okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, if it can be all in kind, I'll make a motion that we all, that y'all go ahead and write the grant.
Okay.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. And also in the board meeting, we discussed streaming a church service so we didn't have to transport inmates to the church with New Vision. That's something we worked with OIT to accomplish, and we probably do that more often than not when we don't have the staffing to take them to the actual church. And we're also working with drug court and OIT to do an interactive classroom via webcam, and that's more about treatment. We do a lot of programs, but the actual treatment has to be done by a certified counselor, and of course that costs money. So we're working with drug court and doing it this way, once again, using technology. We don't have to transport them to the drug court area. While they're doing the classes for the free world people, we can put our inmates in a classroom and have those classes too. Some of them are also, these inmates are mandated to have some of these classes. So they, usually they'll wait till they get out to get them, but if we can do it while they're in and do it for free, it'd be, it's awesome. So we're working on getting that up and running with the county OIT department also. And next was the state letter pickup. We had 2,900, almost 3,000 from the state for the month of February.
Good question on letter pickup. I was on Jefferson Pike Sunday afternoon. On the Smyrna side, just before you get to 840.
Right.
Okay? And there must have been 15 people out there picking up trash. And there were bags, all the way down. And there was a county litter truck. the person that was driving that truck that was, I assume these were DUI on Sunday afternoon.
Right, they should have had the vest on it.
Yeah, they had some kind of, did they not have to wear the orange one anymore? I thought at one time it was the
orange. It's sort of a chartreuse green.
Yeah,
right.
it was the green.
So you could show. I am a drunk driver.
And that's a new code thing that came out, it's state mandated.
All right. Okay, but the guy that was driving that truck, is he part-time?
He's part-time.
Part-time, okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I was glad you had answered that way.
Yeah. I know where you'll go. Next is the yearly activity report, which reflects average daily population. January we had 171. We did have felon days that pick up. And working crews numbers looking really good with that. All the agencies are using them, so that's good. Incident reports, about average for the last 3 months. Disciplinary, same thing. We haven't had any really issues with disciplinaries lately. Programs are up. GED, we just had a test, and we're working with MTSU with some of these that identify the score on a higher level and eligible for the Hope Scholarship. MTSU is actually reaching out to some of them to see if they would want to consider moving on to higher education. And DOI little pickup we just talked about, that's going steady also. And for that report, there's a question.
Make a motion to approve the little report and activity report.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
You want to do the amendment first and then go into the budget?
Do the amendment first, yeah.
We're requesting to move 3,000 from 418 and put into 335. We have some circuit outlets we need to install in the community sanctions area for the kiosk machines, give them enough power, and also the inmates are equipped with a GPS tracking device that in a work release program, so they can actually plug those in near their bed areas to keep them charged up. So when the facility was built, they didn't put those in there. So we have had 3 verbals, and I think we had the lowest bid was $2,000-some $100. So we just needed to put enough money in that line to accomplish that within the next couple of weeks.
Motion to approve.
Second. And a second. All right, discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Fee?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. And the budget.
Budget, beginning of it is all the positions and salaries. As far as raises, they all reflect step raises. There's no salary increases that I can tell. Bottom half of it reflects the benefits. And then starting 307 is where we get into operational lines, and majority of lines stay the same. 320, 307 stayed the same. 320 went up due to the different agencies now we're partnering with, those their dues.
Let me make one statement, Mr. Solandi. Look at his bottom line. It's a little bit less than last year. He can point out 1 or 2 areas where it's gone down a little bit, but it's really pretty much identical to what he's got currently. No new position.
Is there a recommendation on the budget?
You said gas and off-road diesel tanks on 425. Are you putting tanks out there at the work center? Or?
That's for the generator.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense now.
Yeah, that's the only diesel fuel we use is for the generator.
I'll make a motion to send this to budget with a favorable recommendation.
Second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah. On your collections on your phone system for the inmates, do you know what, how much has come in this fiscal year so far, roughly?
We started with this new company in October, and we're roughly seeing 20 to 30% increase in our revenues. And that was based because we knew once they saw the price of these per call, they'll be on the phones more. And then with our population, like, we don't have a huge population. We're really seeing a lot of benefits from that. So that's great.
So what's the total, roughly 30,000 so far for the year?
Yeah, I would say so far.
Thank you much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have copies of your report?
All of it, yeah, you can, that has the budget and all that on there.
Okay. Looks great.
That's great.
Thank you.
Next is Sheriff Department.
Hey,
Hey, y'all.
you bring me a pair of sunglasses?
Thank you.
It's okay, I've got some that are worse.
So do I.
Brighter shirts. All right. For tonight, we have, we're going to do a lot of the donation cleanup and get that moved into some of the other line items. So for tonight, I'm going to take $2,400 out of our donations where they've been donated in the general fund. We're going to put that into our budget for the sheriff's office side, $399 of other contracts and other supplies. And it's going to recognize contributions to the Memorial Garden, Shop with the Sheriff, and the SCAN program. And that's where that's broken down, the $23.90 and the $10. The next one is the donation to the Mounted Patrol, and we're going to move that into their line item so they can have those funds to spend on the horses. Item number 3 is sale of materials, which is items that are sold for the Memorial Garden, the Explorers, and the Vegetable Garden, and we're going to put those in their respective line items so that those programs can have their funds as well for the 5410, 399, and 499 line items. And then the 4th item is the sale of recycled material. We're going to where we recycle some metal and stuff like that. We're going to put those funds into the repair maintenance of the building on the jail side, and then also for the vegetable garden to start getting that program up and running for this season. So, and that's what the last line item is. And that's it for general fund amendments.
You heard the request, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Got a second. Discussion? Hearing none, call roll.
And that's just on page 1, right? Or
Yes,
is it
ma'am.
Right.
Page 2.
Yeah, the page 2 is dark drug fund.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes.
Close to the top.
Okay, on the drug fund, we had contributions to the K-9 on the NARC side, and we're going to put that into the animal food line item so they can continue to feed the dogs.
Dog gotta eat.
Dogs got to eat. That's right. That's
Heard
all I have.
recommendation.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion's there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips,
Come back to me.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes.
Thank you. After that, we have our normal monthly report. There's not a whole lot to note in it. Most of the departments are running pretty close to where we need to be for the year.
Is there any future things that,
We'd hope not. Yeah, we hope not. No, I think we're doing okay on our overtime.
I may have to move some money for the other budget on the jail side for overtime there later on. But for the most part, I think we're doing okay.
Remind me what maintenance update is. Everything okay?
That's what I was kind of talking about. Hopefully, we don't have anything. We ordered the chillers Monday. Everything else seems to be going okay. Naturally, I gave you all that letter. We'll be adding the other thing in the budget. But one thing that we've done since we had some space and all that was we closed down some pods and we repainted. And I wanted to have pictures. I will have pictures for y'all next month. We've repainted the interior of the jail. Our infection rate has plummeted since we've done this. The interior of the jail has not been painted in over 15 years since it has been built. We've been using inmate labor to do all of it. We've just had to buy the paint and the materials to do the work. And I really would love, you would not believe it from your last inspection. So if you do, I encourage you to come out and give me 15 minutes. Let me run you upstairs, show you where they're working on 3 right now. Let me run you up to level 4 and show you, or 5, where they've already completed it. You would be amazed. I could show you one picture on my phone, but if you want me to, I'll be glad to.
Any updates on that plumbing, Cheryl?
The plumbing?
The showers.
Oh, yeah. That's one, well, let me show you. That's kind of part of it, what we've been doing. I'm telling you, I don't have the pictures of the showers. Golf, you got a picture of the shower?
I do.
I'll show you.
I thought you did them because you showed me one of the showers.
I cleaned off some of my camera stuff.
So the picture on WGNS on the painting looked good on that cell block.
Yeah, it makes it look like a whole new facility all over again.
It really does.
It really looks nice. Picture of the shower.
There's a picture of the pod itself. Look how that floor is. And there's a shower. And this is just epoxy we put on it. It may last a year, but actually we've had one shower that's bubbled back up, and we're going to have to go back in, scrape, and relay it. So far, we haven't had problems up on 5. We just had one shower on level 4. So when we get through level 3, we're going to go back up to that one shower and try to fix it, smooth it out. But this is all temporary. It's a temporary fix. We're working on it. We're doing our best.
Just refresh me on, it's the sheriff's side, and it's 140, and salary supplements. What are those?
That's where the state of Tennessee gives each officer a stipend every year.
They give each officer $600. We put it in a budget, and then whenever the state sends the supplement check to the county gives each officer.
The driver's license is what this revenue source for that for law enforcement. The fire side is insurance premiums.
And one thing I would like to add about the recycled materials, we came up with a program. We just had a thought that all the tin cans that we use for like our beans, different canned goods that we do get, like you get at home, except we get the big cans. We had McNolan drop off a container. It took us about 2.5 months to fill it up. We filled it up the first time, recycling all those tin cans. And the first time we brought it in, $250. So naturally, we're continuing doing that, and that's why we moved that money into the garden program, which the garden program, that money will go in the garden program, but the vegetables are going to go back into the jail. Then also the pallets, and I never thought anything about pallets, but businesses drop off goods on pallets. Well, when we had the pallets, we just chunked them out there by the garbage. Sometimes we'd notice some guy would ride back there and pick them up, and so that got me thinking, and I asked Commander Goff to check into it. We started saving the pallets. When we took those off, we saved up enough for a trailer load. That was $500. So that's what we're doing to put money back into the garden program, which the garden program will have the inmates working in the garden, bringing those vegetables back into the jail. So it's a big cycle. But I just wanted to let you know, and also Commander Goff started saving all the cardboard boxes. We got another trailer. And we've been saving those, and we've been taking those down to Laverne. I think it was $50 for a load of cardboard boxes. It was just a little 2-axle trailer. We pulled it down there and unloaded it,
And they gave us $50 for a bunch of cardboard boxes.
Well, generate revenue and saving and keeping it out of landfill.
Yeah, it's staying out of the landfill, plus the inmates are getting to use the purpose of working in the garden. The county's getting the vegetables. You know, it's just a big cycle. So I'm very proud of that.
All right, we got the report. Is there a motion on the report?
Motion to approve the report.
Motion, is there a second on the report?
Second.
Second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. What else you got?
Beyond that, you'll have your normal, just monthly report on all of our overtime, comp time, utilities, things like that. You'll probably see that in your system in kind of review at your leisure. And then
All the edibles.
Yeah.
All right, so you just pass them both
Click one down, pass them around, and that's all we have for this evening.
Right.
You got you one here.
I'm sorry.
I got a question for y'all. You can have Major O'Gwen or Captain Hendrickson for next. This is y'all's report in here, and this is all kinds of SRO reports that are pulled off the internet, and there's a lot of,
There's
a lot of stuff, but it doesn't say a whole lot. It says the ideal, but, and I'm wondering if y'all have any empirical data that you kept. I know that the officer, the SROs in the school, if they have to write up the report if somebody gets arrested.
Yeah.
Just type,
We keep statistics.
Yeah, and that, and also, their instruction on the, maybe conflict resolution or something, what they do.
We keep all those statistics.
Okay. Can you just bring an update? And what I'm interested in is I know the schools, I think of high schools mainly, but the violence probably is good, with 2,000 kids in a high school now compared to what it was 8 years ago, when it was maybe 1,400 to 1,500 in them or something like this. But I'd just be curious as to whether it's stabilized percentage-wise, probably, if it's about the same, if it's going down, if, just something like that. Because, it seems like on the surface, in everything you think about, just having the sheriff's vehicle there, the uniformed officer in the schools, it sounds great. It does. But, it's nice when you're thinking about sticking money into it to have something solid and concrete to just know.
I mean, that's one thing I started trying to provide, when I first took office, was all these statistics. Of course, if I gave you all of our statistics on every division every month, we'd be here for another hour and a half. That's why I don't come and do like the ambulance service and give you our arrival times and statistics on fights and all this, because we would be here for 2 hours.
Maybe you could just give us a synopsis, or something, summarize it next week. So we got an idea, and it might be, you bring it to here, it might be worth getting enough to put them in the other commissioners' boxes, just so they got an idea, because it's it's going to be coming up again.
Well, I can do that, and I can also, I'll email it out to your county email addresses, maybe even your, I think I've got the others, but we'll get it to you, and we'll even have copies next month too. Because I know I was going to have that data when it came to budget time, in case, because naturally when we do budget time, I'll have all the data, I'll have all the statistics for every division, so.
And speaking of budget, I'll go off, I want to tell the committee as well, what I did this year was the same thing I did last year, as far as kind of split up the agenda for part of the budget this month. The next month will be at the regular committee meeting. Part of the agenda as far would be budgets and reports. Kind of that way we're saving money, but not having extra meetings. The only extra meeting that I think we're probably going to need to have, possibly, and if you're the mayor, can kind of let me know how your budget's going to work out. It may be we can do it in a regular meeting, or it may be we may have a special meeting. I don't know, just if we can, what the time's going to be as far as the process.
That'll work.
And if we need to have a special meeting on the budget, we can do that.
That's what we have done in the past,
Right.
but we can do whatever. We can. I know the mayor wants us. What is it? Early next month, he wants us to have something to him, just so they can start putting some other stuff together. So basically, we'll be handing him.
So what we can do
our
is
first draft budget. So naturally, we'll be talking.
I know March we'll have another, 4 or so. regular budget stuff, so we can have a special meeting. Or it sounds like it may be needing a special meeting. Is that?
That'd probably be best.
We're not sure of it, quite honestly. We want to have, we got to be before you people at least April.
Yeah.
Your
Right.
regular April meeting.
Isn't April 15th that you gotta have all that before?
Just let me know.
Before,
And
yeah.
we'll
We'll do a
schedule.
little strategy on that. We'll
Okay.
take it next
We'll work
week.
together.
Okay.
The last year, I missed the special meeting because it was in April, because I was in Indianapolis. I missed the budget.
Yeah,
So if y'all
maybe you'll be here this year.
just let me know and we'll go from there.
Probably
Never know. My calendar's booked years out.
You probably missed a free headache.
Y'all got
That's
anything
it.
else? All right.
No, that's all we got.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Is there any other business to come before the committee? Hearing none, we stand adjourned. Thank y'all.
Amen.